Thank you all for coming today. Danny, Aaron, and I will be presenting some work that's been done for Plan Refuge, a pilot project started by the Food Equity team in collaboration with Community for Global Health Equity, as well as the Food Systems Planning and Healthy Communities Lab. We would like to start by thanking the following people without whom this project would not be possible. These include our primary investigator, Dr. Samina Raja, our Food Lab team members, our local partners, and our partners here at UB. Additionally, our translators, and most importantly, the smallholder farmers who were generous enough to donate their time to us. This is the structure we'll be following for our presentation. We'll start by taking you through an overview of what Plan Refuge is, describe the work that's been done in India, and also offer implications as to what it has to offer for the future.
The 570 million smallholder farms across the global south, which we define as 9 acres or less in size, supply more than 80% of the world's food needs. The health and well-being of smallholder farmers are then directly connected to global food security. In India, 75% of the farmers cultivate 9 acres or less and are likely to experience higher rates of food insecurity and poverty themselves. Meanwhile, subnational government actions may in fact exacerbate existing conditions smallholder farmers deal with because they may not be aware of the impact of those actions. In its pilot phase, Plan Refuge starts at the first essential stage in the food system, food production, to understand the impact of external factors on smallholder farm well-being. We understand that food equity and overall farmer well-being may be determined by a series of factors which impact one another. We developed a framework to demonstrate the many factors that we heard influence a farmer's well-being. External factors include policy barriers, urbanization, extreme weather events, and globalization. These major forces influence the availability and quality of the resources and assets farmers rely upon, including natural resources such as water and a willing and available human labor force. Based on changes in their environments, farmers must adapt their daily living practices to maintain economic viability. Through Plan Refuge, our team seeks to listen to smallholder farmers and community stakeholders and then provide area and context-specific policy recommendations informed by those interviews. During our fieldwork in Kerala and Odisha, we sought to understand changes in smallholder farmers' daily living practices. Because CGHE and the Food Lab are committed to working in communities where we have existing partners, we selected Odisha and Kerala as our pilot study sites. The two states provide interesting contrast. Kerala is a state with a 93% literacy rate and an equitable healthcare system, yet their population faces health challenges such as diabetes and hypertension. Odisha is a primarily rural state with a wealth of natural resources, including farmland, yet has high levels of poverty and food insecurity. Along with other team members, we conducted interviews to understand the daily living practices of smallholder farmers and explore the trade-offs they have to make in terms of their agricultural practices, household health and dietary preferences, community relations and involvement, the political landscape, and their ecological impact. We reviewed policies and plans to determine whether plans for land use or economic development consider the well-being of smallholder farmers. We focus on subnational governments because they more immediately and directly impact farming households. Our team spent almost 3 weeks learning from farmers and stakeholders in both sites.
Part of the work that was conducted took place in Kerala, which lies on the southwestern coast of the country. The state is known as the land of coconuts as well as God's own country because of its lush landscapes and biodiversity. Half of our time was spent in Trivandrum district, whose settlements are largely peri-urban. Many of the farmers we spoke to in Trivandrum lived in densely populated areas and had rooftop gardens. In contrast, Thrissur district was much more rural. Farmers had larger plots of land and were much more likely to be career farmers. Our primary source of data came from personal interviews with farmers in their homes and on their land. I was responsible for audio recording the interviews as well as taking notes of the interactions. In order to provide a fuller picture of agriculture in India, I performed site mapping of the farms. My research also looked at the connection between housing security and food security, and I sketched the farmers' homes as well. Throughout our time in Kerala, we worked closely with local partners who are vested in the community. Their insight provided a richness and context and improved our understanding of the major issues in the region.
Our work in Odisha unfolded across 3 different districts, Bargarh, Koraput, and Bhubaneswar. Each of these districts gave us an understanding of the experiences of smallholder farmers in varying contexts. In Bargarh, we saw the impact of chemical farming methods. In Koraput district, a largely tribal area, farmland was treated with more traditional agricultural methods. And finally, in Bhubaneswar, we saw the impact of rapid urbanization. In each district, we conducted extensive interviews with farmers. These were made possible by collaboration with local connections and translators. After interviews, site analysis was a very important part of our data collection, since many of the areas we visited were not readily available for viewing on mapping or internet services. Photographs certainly played a big role for our reference. While I helped support interviews, visual data capturing was one of my main responsibilities. A final component in our approach was holding conversations with stakeholders, key community members, and local government officials. While some of these meetings were challenging to program, they were necessary to gauge alternative perspectives on our subject of research. After analysis of our data, our major findings can be broken down into major challenges and opportunities. Some overlapping challenges we identified in both Kerala and Odisha include extreme weather events and economic-related barriers, such as the profitability of certain crops over others in Kerala and overall poverty experienced by farmers in Odisha. In terms of opportunities, we noted that both states could strengthen existing agricultural support networks and organic farming practices. With completed research and analyses, we will disseminate our findings via research articles and presentations. We will also continue to foster relationships with local partners and policymakers. Ultimately, our findings will also provide guidance to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization on food systems planning in the Global South via a comprehensive report that will be finished this year. A continuation of this project will carry out in pilot work based in Ghana and Jamaica, which will provide additional case studies for the FAO report.
I went to India not knowing much about the agricultural industry, either abroad or at home, and now I know more about Kerala's crops than I ever thought possible. The experience deepened my interest in food systems as a whole, and also the connection between the community and their food. The international opportunity has piqued my interest in working abroad. I'm also better at communicating with people who may not speak my language. CGHE prepared us well for our research abroad, but it was also humbling to realize that my normal is not everyone's normal, and I realized how much I've taken for granted living as an American. Successful teamwork was a huge component of our research. I feel very lucky for having worked with Dr. Eli Moy and our translator, Radhika Kumar. They made the experience even better. Mostly, I learned how important flexibility is in India and also at home. In the field, it was difficult to predict what might happen from day to day, and adaptation was key.
This experience has left me with a breadth of knowledge and understanding of many different things. Over the course of 17 days, I had the chance to meet and connect with the communities we were studying, which helped me realize the importance of conducting human subject research responsibly because of its ultimate potential impact. As my first international research opportunity at an undergraduate level, no less, this trip allowed me to broaden the lens through which I view the world and the challenges people face in starkly different contexts. I learned the strengths and challenges that come with team collaboration in a way that has prepared me well for future research settings. And finally, I saw the value in hearing from community voices directly and the importance of uplifting voices that don't have the means to be heard.
Although I had worked abroad before, this was my first opportunity to conduct research in an international context, which included supporting the development of a research tool, writing quantitative synopses prior to departure, and securing some logistics for the trip. Thanks in preparation from CGHE and our PI, Dr. Raja, I felt prepared to adapt to the culture in which we worked. Certain norms, such as best methods for communication, were simple shifts to make. Others, such as mannerisms to express appreciation and regret, were more difficult to remember, although I now hesitate before saying "I'm sorry" or "thank you" after being questioned by our translators multiple times. Our travels through 3 districts offered the opportunity to meet a variety of stakeholders, and I came to appreciate both the formal and informal networks that support or undermine smallholder farmers' agency in their own lives. I was humbled to remember the importance of slowing down and remaining flexible in order to build relationships with stakeholders and policymakers for future work. Based in part on the opportunity to participate in fieldwork in India, I feel prepared to implement research with smallholder farmers in Singapore, where I'll be living next year through the Fulbright Student Program. Our fieldwork in India has implications both at home and abroad. The lessons we learned about challenges and opportunities farmers face in Odisha and Kerala will inform the broader report on food systems planning for the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. We'll design the report to be useful to subnational governments seeking to plan with farmers in mind. Plan Refuge will continue in other countries and will likely continue to inspire other students and faculty to conduct community-led research in the Global South through events such as the Global Innovation Challenge. As more students understand the global, interconnected nature of the food system and view their research as offering capacity to communities that have their own assets and expertise, there's greater opportunity to cultivate equitable opportunities with smallholder farmers. Greater health, economic, and social equity among smallholder farm households is inextricably linked to greater health equity for people around the globe. Thank you for your attention, and we'll now take any questions or comments.